What up, transitions? On to lesson 4. Again, we're doing the quotient rule. Quotient means divide, and we know that when we divide exponents, we subtract the little numbers. Okay, so again, we need the same base, then we can work with the little numbers. If we don't have the same base, just use the regular operations. Okay, so looking at 19, and again, we're getting a little bit more complex today. Taking a look at 19, let's look at our big numbers first. Okay, so our big numbers, we got a 4 on the top and a 4 on the bottom. Well, let's just divide those. What do we get when we divide 4 by 4? Well, 4 divided by 4 gets us a 1. So we're going to start with a 1 in our answer, but I want you to notice this little negative sign chilling out front. I'm going to treat that as a -1. Okay, so I'm going to keep that negative in that answer. Okay, then we can go ahead and look at our variables. So if we're looking at our variables, the first thing we see is this m to the third power. Okay, so let's look and see what else has that base, and we can see that we've got an m squared on the denominator. So remember, when we are dividing these exponents, we have to subtract the little numbers. Okay, so I'm going to have m to the 3 minus 2, which gives us -1m to the first power, or just m. Okay, so I've got my m taken care of. Now I need to do my n. Okay, but notice there aren't any other n's. So that n to the 4 is just going to jump on that answer. Okay, and that's it. All right, let's take a look at number 20. Number 20, so the first thing I want us to focus on is these negatives. Okay, so notice there's a negative on top. That's like a -1. Okay, so what we're going to do is divide those numbers. So -1 divided by -4 just gives us a positive 1/4. Okay, so again, you could use your calculator for that. You could use Desmos, pretty much whatever works. Okay, so we get a 1/4 first. Okay, then we can go ahead and take a look at what's on top, which is y to the third. Okay, so I've got a y to the third on top, and I got a y squared on the bottom. So 3 minus 2 gets me y to the first power. That we'll put on top. And if you're struggling to figure out where should I put the variable on the top or on the bottom, look and see which one has the larger exponent. So in this problem, 3 is on the top, and that's bigger than 2, so we know our answer, our simplified answer, will be on the top. Okay, but as for the second variable in this problem, which is the x to the 4th, there aren't any other x's, so that's going to stay where it is. So because it's on the bottom, we're going to keep it on the bottom. And that's my final answer. I simplified my 1/4, I simplified my y's, and there's nothing I can do with my x's, so I'm just going to keep it the same. All right, on to number 21. Okay, so if we're looking at 21, first thing I'm looking at are my big numbers. So we know that's a -1, so 3 divided by -1 gives me a -3. Okay, so I've got my -3 chilling up top. Now I need to go ahead and look at my variables. Okay, so for my variables, the first thing I see is I've got an x to the third on the top and x to the second on the bottom. So remember, we subtract. So 3 minus 2 gets me 1. So I've got an x left over. And again, we're always putting that variable where the larger exponent is. So because the 3 is on the top, it's going to stay on the top. And then next, we're going to look at my y's, but notice they're the same number. So I got a y to the 4th on the top, y to the 4th on the bottom. 4 minus 4 gets me 0, and anytime you have 0, it's gone forever. So my y's are gone. And my final answer is -3x. All right, number 22. All right, so for number 22, again, we need to take those big numbers and simplify them first. Okay, so I've got a 4 divided by 2, which gives me 2. And again, notice you've got this negative chilling out front, so I'm just going to slap that negative right in front of that 2. So right now I've got a -2. Okay, but let's look at our variables. Okay, we see we've got a y on the top, but there aren't any other y's, so that's going to stay there. And then we're going to take a look at our denominator, which is x to the third. Well, notice there aren't any other x's, so we can't combine it with anything, so it's just going to chill where it's at. And since it's on the denominator, I need to continue putting that on the denominator. So my final answer here will have the -2 on top, and with the y, and then x to the third on the bottom, or x cubed, I should say. Alrighty, let's keep going. Number 23. Number 23, again, if we're looking at this problem, we got to make sure that everything has exponents. And we can see that that y on the denominator does not, so I'm going to put that 1 there. Okay, notice we're looking at that 2. There are not any other big numbers, so that 2 is just going to be chilling. Okay, so keep that 2 on the top, nothing to do with it. Okay, so let's look at our x values. See what has the same base. So again, we got a base of x here. I got a base of x here, but notice it's a 2 and a 2. And we know that 2 minus 2 gets me 0. And when you get 0, that means it's gone forever. Okay, so I do not have an x in my answer. And my last step is to look at the y's. So I've got a y to the 4th on top. I got a y to the 1st on bottom. So 4 minus 1 gets me y to the 3rd. Okay, so that's my final answer here. All right, one more left. That is number 24. And we're going to start with our big numbers. Okay, our big numbers here is -3 and -2. If we divide those, the only thing that's going to change is the sign, because we know that a negative divided by a negative gets us a positive. So if we plug 3 divided by 2 in our calculator, it's going to get us 1.5. Okay, so that does not simplify. So we're going to keep that 3 chilling on top and that 2 on the bottom. Okay, then we can go ahead and look at our variables. Okay, for our variables, I've got a y to the 1st on top, and then I've got a y to the 4th on the bottom. So if we take a look, I've got 1 minus 4, which gets us -3. Okay, or you could use it as, hold on a second, we'll put the -3 here. Okay, but, and as I'll talk about more in this unit, when you have a negative exponent, to make it positive, you flip the direction. So our final answer would be 3 divided by 2y to the 3rd power. And if you want to jump to that step, go for it. Okay, if you want to keep the negative in the answer, that's fine. But once we get to the end of the unit and you guys take that test, there will not be any negatives in the answer. Okay, so and you can always check it by saying, okay, well, if y to the 4th's on the bottom and that exponent's bigger, then my number should be on the bottom, which is what you can see in the green answer. Okay, so I would accept both of these, but we'll practice more later on how to get to that part. Okay, so go ahead and do that worksheet. You got that little quiz as well. If you want to retake it, let me know. But yeah, good luck. If you need help, please email me. Goodbye.